Fitness continues to be one of the most popular New Year's resolutions for most people. This year, 3 of the 5 most popular choices end up being fitness driven. That being improve fitness, lose weight, and improve diet. The challenge with setting these vague goals ends up being that a lot of people end up missing them simply because they don't have a number or a specific target in mind. So, and in this video, I want to go through my ways of going through my last few years of New Year's resolutions, how you can break it down, and how you can plan for 2024 to be the best year yet as we start to wrap up 2023. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, and we're back, and my name is Alex. Always welcome back to the Lifting Nomad. And a little bit of background on me. I've gone through losing 70 pounds in my fitness journey, gone from knowing essentially zero Spanish to being a B2 fluency over the last couple of years. I've been to 25 countries or so since COVID, really just done some pretty cool things, and I wanted to share how I go about approaching my New Year's resolutions, how you can do the same, and how you can plan to have a really successful 2024. So I think one of the most important things that people overlook is they try to set this massive target up in their head of some like just incredible feat that they want to do this year without actually thinking of the possibility of completing it. And that doesn't mean to, shoot low or aim for something that you can already do. Like, let's say you can bench press 200 pounds already and your goal is to bench press like 205. Like, that's really something that is extremely doable. But at the same time, you don't want to say, okay, I can bench 200 pounds right now and I want to bench 375 this year. Likely not going to happen unless you're blasting PEDs and you have some of the best genetics in the world. Then you're going to be famous on Instagram and I'll likely end up following you. So it's funny, back when I was doing my undergrad degree, one of the acronyms that we learned was this thing called SMART, when you're setting a target or a goal. And SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Now, what does all that mean? Well, it's again kind of like what I was getting at there around your bench press, let's say, or a financial goal, or you want to get down to a certain weight loss. Like I said, 3 of the 5 most popular New Year's resolutions are fitness focused, the other 2 being improve mental health and improve finances. But what do all of these 5 sort of goals have in common? They simply just say improve. There's no quantitative measure of what is an improvement. Granted, some things like mental health can definitely be a little bit of qualitative, as there's really there's really not an easy way to put on pen and paper a specific number of how well your mental health is doing. But everything else there can mostly be measured in terms of numbers, which is of course going to let you to hit a goal and achieve it and allow you to tick that box that is complete. So what are a couple of good examples of how you can break this down? So looking at the SMART acronym, I think it's really important to set something that's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So, kind of playing that back to what I was just saying around breaking it down by, let's say, quarter or month or even week. Let's say your goal is to lose weight. You want to get in shape. It's a really common thing that most people suffer with around body image and body dysmorphia and, these social standards we have on Instagram and social media, and everyone just wants to lose weight. Everyone wants to get in shape. That's a pretty common theme. So what can you do? So instead of saying, I want to be ripped by summer, what does that mean? Do you have an 8-pack? Do you have a 6-pack? Do you, what does that mean? There's no real specific target there. Instead, why don't you say, okay, I weigh 200 pounds and by summer, I want to weigh 170 pounds. Totally realistic. Most people are able to lose anywhere from 4 to 8 pounds a month in a completely healthy manner. That's just a typical way of 1 to 2 pounds a week if you're on a proper diet. So how do you go about doing that? So let's say it is January 1st and by July 1st, let's say summer, middle of summer, you want to be down to that 170 pounds. So now we've got it down to you want to lose 30 pounds in 6 months. So let's just do some quick mental math here. What does that look like? 30 divided by 6, 5 pounds a month. You look at it that way, it's already a lot more manageable, and that number isn't as scary. But now we can go ahead and break that down even further. How do we want to do this on a weekly basis? Because ultimately we're not living our lives on a monthly basis, we're mostly living on a daily and then even potentially weekly or even like hourly or by the minute lifestyle. So we take 5 pounds divided by 4 weeks in a month and you get 1.25. So now you have to lose 1.25 pounds per week for the next 6 months and you will get your goal by summer. Doesn't that seem a lot more manageable and a lot more of a small pill to swallow versus saying I need to lose 30 pounds? Same kind of concept of just breaking it down with most things in life of how you want to accomplish them is to get it down to a manageable number. This is extremely common in sales. I'm in tech sales, have been most of my life and most of my career. And a really, really common thing to do is looking at your big quota. Like sometimes my quotas was like over $1 million. And that's a really massive number if you're starting in a new company. You have no leads, you have no pipeline, you have no nothing. You don't know what you're doing. You're brand new to the company. You don't even know how to sell this product. And you're like, okay, how do I get $1 million of revenue? Same kind of concept. We'd try and break it down by month, by quarter, and then get it down to like even by a week. And then what we would do is look at the conversion rates of things like phones or emails or LinkedIn's and how many of those we have to do to get to the pipeline that we need that would then generate that revenue. Same kind of concept. You can apply it to pretty much everything in life that is quantitative. That's why I really suggest using some sort of number as a metric or barometer for your goals being achieved. But let's stick with this same example, 1.25 pounds per week over the next 6 months gets you to your goal of 170 pounds by summer. So what does that look like on a calorie deficit? On average, they say 1 pound of fat is equal to 3,500 calories. 25% more of that, let's say more or less 4,000 calorie deficit per week to lose that 1.25 pounds. 4,000 calories per week divided by 7 gets you to a deficit of 571 calories per day for the next 6 months will get you from that goal of 200 pounds to 170. Now, of course, there is a little bit of variance in terms of people's metabolism, but overall, that is just going to be a pretty simple thermodynamic equation of this is how much weight you are going to lose if you follow this for the next 6 months. So then now you can start to plan your day a lot more easily. Okay, I need to eat 570 calories less than my body is burning throughout the day. So what can I do? I can go for a spin in the morning that burns 500 calories for 45 minutes. I can go for a walk at lunch, after dinner, after work for 15,000 steps. That's going to burn right around that amount of calories as well. Then I need to look at measuring myself, measuring my food scale, using things like MyFitnessPal. Really easy way to understand of, okay, am I at my 570 deficit over a week? Am I losing 1.25 pounds, more or less? Now, kind of the thing with this is there is always a little bit of variance. Like I said, even in sales, even in weight loss, it's nothing as linear as it sounds on paper. So do definitely give yourself a little bit of leeway for the first couple of weeks as you get this thing ironed out. So now we've got this figured out. So what can you do to actually set these goals? So instead of writing, I want to have a 6-pack by summer, why don't we start to break it down by quarter, by month, in an actual notebook, in a document, somewhere where we can see it. So if we're losing 5 pounds a month, and it is January 1st, I want to have a goal for February 1st to be from our 200 pound starting point. I need to be 195 by February 1st. That way you're sticking to your target, and that way you can kind of adjust if you're, let's say, like you somehow really have a really fast metabolism and you're like 190 pounds in that first month. Probably okay to keep going and see if that's going to keep up. It likely won't, but if it does, you want to be like, well, okay, maybe I need to eat a little bit more. I'm losing too much weight too quickly. Maybe I'm losing a little bit too much muscle, and we don't want that. Or on the contrary, if you're still at like 197, 198, maybe you're missing some numbers, maybe you're not as accurate with your diet, or you have a really slow metabolism. You might need to up your cardio or lower your calories again to make sure you're on target with that goal you've set. But I think this is really where the notebook comes in handy, to having these goals on a monthly basis versus just a yearly resolution. I think it can be really disappointing to get to like the end of December, go back through your notebook and see goals that didn't even make sense, that you haven't checked up on, that you haven't been keeping tabs with, versus setting these monthly goals that allow you to have small wins throughout the year that build into like a monumental W at the end of the summer, at the end of the year, at the end of the quarter, whatever you're measuring. But then it keeps you motivated throughout the whole season. Again, like kind of reference sales as someone who's been in it most of my career, if I was just looking at the whole year and I only have like 200,000 in my first quarter, it's really easy to get demotivated and defeated looking at that massive mountain I still have to climb. Versus if I look at, okay, I only needed to get 250,000, I'm at 200,000, I'm almost there. So now it's like, okay, I'm doing okay. I can do this. I'm in a good spot. I can just keep going at where I'm headed, and I'm going to be able to get this done by the time the year comes around. New Year's resolutions continue to be really, really popular, especially in the millennial generation and like the younger millennials, I guess older Gen Z at this point. I think it says 59% of people 18 to 34 are going to write a New Year's resolution this year. So I thought this might be useful to see what I would do and how I go approaching my goals. Also think it's important to set a expectation of not too many things. Like I think if you're going into this year and you want to bench 375, you want to save $1 million, you want to run a marathon, you want to get a 250K job, you want to get married, you want to buy a house, like if you have too many things at once, can also be extremely difficult to hit all of them. Not to say you shouldn't strive for, like 5, let's say, major tasks you want to complete in a year, but at the same time, you don't want to set something that's going to set you up for failure, even if you can't accomplish one of them, let alone 5. It's going to be a pretty depressing end of the year when you go to open your notebook and you've missed out on most of the resolutions you had set for yourself. So how do you think you can course correct? Well, as you go through the quarters, as you go through the months of the year, see if you're, how you're pacing towards your goals. If you know that you're on track to hit this weight loss goal, maybe you can add something into the second quarter that is going to finish by the end of the year. Let's say you want to save 20 grand for a vacation or for like a backpacking trip or something like that. You haven't saved anything at all. You could start in the second quarter, April 1st, and set a target to save that much money with the remaining 9 months, set a budget and set a goal that way. And that way you're on pace to add an additional New Year's resolution that you finished in the end of the year, even though you added it kind of midway through as you're adjusting and course correcting. So this is kind of my perspective on how I set goals. I think it's really important to have goals that are achievable, that you can adjust as you go within reason. Like, of course, you don't want to say I want to save $10,000 and then turn that down to 500. Like, that's going to be demotivating as well. But a little bit of course correcting here and there just to make sure you are on track for what you want to do and what you want to accomplish. It's totally fine. It's going to be good for your mental health. And either way, these little wins throughout the year are just going to build and build and build and snowball into this like monumental amount of energy and inertia going into the end of the year. That way you can carry it forward into the next year and know you're gonna have I guess it's a good 2025 at this point. So hopefully this video was useful. I know we did some math and a little bit of strategy, a little bit of philosophy around my thoughts on actually setting goals and achieving them for your New Year's resolution. If you did enjoy this video, feel free to like or subscribe. It always helps the algorithm. But as always, my name's Alex. Welcome back to Lifting Nomad. We'll see you next one. Peace.